Hey, in this video, we're going to be talking about the 8 times table. The 8s are one of those times tables that people sometimes have a hard time with. The good thing, though, about the 8s is that it's also another even number times table, which means that all the answers are going to be even because 8 is an even number. And there is a good pattern that you can use to help remember what the order is of the multiples. Before we get into the more difficult parts of it, let's go over the facts that you should already know by now, because the other times tables are easy. 8 times 0, of course, you know is 0. Anything times 0 is 0. 8 times 1, of course, is 8. Anything times 1 is itself. 8 times 2, you're just doubling, or in this case, 8 plus 8. That's going to be 16. You know your fives. 8 times 5 is 40. If you use a clock, remember, always use the clock. If you count by fives, the 8 would be 40 minutes. And of course, 8 times 10, the power of 0, once again, just like this one. Whereas you multiply by 0 to get 0, you add a 0 to a number, and you're going to get that number multiplied by 10. Okay? So 0, 8, 16, 40, and 80. That's for a 0, 1, 2, 5, and 10. Now let's go through the ones that we skipped and see what those factors are. Okay? So I'm going to erase these, and we're going to pick up with the first one that we skipped. Let's see, we did 8 times 0, we did 8 times 1, we did 8 times 2. We did not do 8 times 3. What's 8 times 3 going to be? Well, 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 3 is 24. How can you remember that? We'll just add 8 to 16, because 8 times 2 is 16. Or, it's kind of a stretch, but you could say, well, what two numbers go around 3? 2 and 4, right? 2 is before 3, 4 is after 3. Not only that, but when you multiply 2 and 4, what do you get? You get 8. Okay? 8 times 3 equals 24. The next factor that we skipped was 8 times 4. Okay? What's 8 times 4? Well, 8 times 4 is 32. Now, how could you remember this? Well, 4, 3, 2. Okay? Kind of a stretch once again, but that's a good way to think of it. We did 8 times 5, of course, was 40. Next, we got 8 times 6. We didn't do that. Now, remember the last video when I did the 6s? Well, here's a 6 right here. I just switched the order. Remember, commutative property states that it doesn't matter what order the factors are in. The answer is still going to be the same. The product's still going to be the same, right? So if I switch this to 6 times 8, what would it be? Remember the rhythm with the even numbers of the 6? 6 times 8 is what? 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 8 is 48. Not only that, but if 6 times 8 is 48, and I know the commutative property, I know that 8 times 6 must also be 48, right? Okay, so 8 times 6 is 48. And also, if you want to count by 2s, you can skip 4, 6, 8, right? And there's your 8 for that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Remember, like I said, you could always use other times tables to help you with the ones you're learning because of the commutative property. It doesn't matter what order it's in. The next one would be 8 times 7. Now, this is actually one of my favorites. I'm going to zoom in on this to show you. 8 times 7. What is 8 times 7? 8 times 7 is 56. Okay? Now, you could add 8 to 48 to get 56, or you could use something silly like I like to use. You've got 7 and 8, right? What two numbers come before 7 and 8 when you know 7 and 8 go together when you count, right? When you count 1, 2, 3, ba-da-da. 7 and 8 go together. What two numbers come before 7 and 8 when you count? 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. What two numbers come before? Remember, it doesn't matter what order it's in. What two numbers come before 7 and 8? 5 and 6. Now keep in mind, it's not 65, it's 56. The 5, 6 stays in the right order, okay? The last one, not the last one, but the second to last one, 8 times 8. Now, I'm squaring 8 because I'm repeating the 8 twice. I'm multiplying 8 twice. I'm multiplying 8 by itself. What is 8 times 8? 8 times 8 is 64. Now, what's a good way to remember this? Well, it's a silly little thing, but I like listening to older music. I always like the Beatles. I don't know if you know who the Beatles are. They happen to be one of the greatest rock bands ever. But anyway, that's for another video. But anyway, the Beatles had a song called 8 Days a Week. Okay, here's your eights, 8 days a week. They also had a song called When I'm 64. That's the name of it, When I'm 64. 8, 64. 8 days a week, twice, when I'm 64. 8 days a week, when I'm 64. 8 times 8 is 64. Okay? Now the last one I'm going to have to do on this, I'm going to do it this way. 8 times 9. Remember the rule of 9. Okay? What do you do when there's a 9 there? You take the number that's not 9. Now if it's 9 times 9, it doesn't matter. But in this case, one of the numbers isn't 9. You take the number that's not 9, you go one less, right? One less. So in this case, the number that's not 9 is 8. What's one less than 8? 7. Remember, both digits have to add up to 9, right? Like that other video I showed you. 7 plus what is 9? 2. 8 times 9 is 72. Okay? Both digits, 7 and 2, add up to 9. So once again, 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 8 is 64. And 8 times 9 is 72. Okay? Now I'm going to write the whole thing out because I want to see if you notice something really cool about the 8s. I'm going to start with the 1, not the 0, because we all know about the 0. Okay? Hopefully you've been taking notes in the meantime. Maybe you could always pause the video and write them down, memorize, do what you have to do. Okay? And like I said, that's what it's there for. You can always go back and replay it. And you could always refer back to older times table videos to help you as well. Okay, here's the first 10 facts of the 8 times table starting from 1 going to 10. Okay, I want you to focus on the products. Remember, if you want to go back to memorizing the tricks of the ones that are harder, you can always go back to that later. But I want you to focus on the products. Just like we did with the 6s, I want you to focus on the 1s columns, the 1s digits. Well, here's an 8. 16, it's a 6. First of all, you know they're all even numbers, right? Because we're dealing with 8. Oh, sorry about that. And you got a 4. And you got a 2. And you got a 0. 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. What do you know? I'm going back to 8. 6, 4, 2, 0. So look, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 0 repeats itself. You notice that? And not only that, but when you count by 2s, you go 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 0 would be the 10, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. Well, the 8s are the same pattern, just backwards. 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. Right? 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. So you're reversing what you normally would do with the 2 times table. As long as you remember that the 1s pattern is 8, 6, 4, 2, 0, which are the 2s backwards, you're going to be fine. Because you know that every number is going to be even. Okay? So I'm going to leave this here. You could pause the video, copy it if you have to. I'll hold it a little bit longer so you can have time to pause it. Okay? You could, and then you could press play again to wrap it up. Right? So here you go. All right? So hopefully at this point you paused it, you copied it, and you're going to memorize it, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few problems. Once you've memorized your notes and put them away to the side, remember you could also use flashcards, that thing I showed you a while ago, right? You could practice some of these problems, some of the more difficult ones, more challenging. Some of the more challenging ones, okay? Because you should know some of the other ones there. So you can practice these problems to go with it, okay? Copy it. You can pause it and copy it, right? And then go back to your notes and see if you were right, okay? So those are the 8s. Really not that tricky. One of the easier of the more difficult times tables. So hope that helps, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.